Well, hello there. Welcome aboard, everyone. This is the beginning of the live stream show that you've been waiting for. This week, it's Torn Tuesday, theonering.net, going live for all the fans of J.R.R. Tolkien, also known as the Professor, who had celebrated his birthday on January 3rd, just a couple of weeks ago. My birthday, incidentally, is 6 days away. That should be interesting. So a very late happy birthday to the Professor. Welcome. This is Torn Tuesday. My name is Clifford Broadway, writer, contributor to theonering.net for 20 years, long-standing community. Find us here live. You can be part of this show on all these different platforms. It's kind of a remarkable list because I'm seeing a lot of people come live right now into this chat. And I'm glad you're all here because today we will be memorializing and taking a moment to remember Christopher Tolkien was the third child and youngest son of John Ronald Reuel Tolkien. So today we ask everyone, and there you are, there's lots of friends coming into the chat. We're going to ask everybody to join us in conversation today. I see Sarah, David, welcome. Oh, Cataline, hello, lovely to have you here. Hey, David is coming from Costa Rica. There's Pipske, Nicholas, hello. It's a pleasure to see you, Andrew as well. So come join us on Periscope, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, all theonering.net. These platforms are now live. You can actually enjoy the show later on after it's done. But if you're here now with us, then welcome. Again, my name's Clifford Broadway. I will soon be joined by Justin. He'll be here in just a moment. And I'm broadcasting from Scum and Villainy Cantina here in the heart of Hollywood, the galactic-themed bar, which is so unique and beloved to the nerd community here in Los Angeles. So yes, welcome to the show. It seems to be there's quite a bit of news. It's like this kind of seismic news that shakes really truthfully when Tolkien himself talks about foundations of stone. And we're talking about ancient things that are so powerful and profound and something that is really important to all of us in the Tolkien community. And forgive me for sobering this moment in such a way, forgive me. But the loss of Christopher Tolkien is a moment that will forever change everything that has made us who we are. He was the greatest mind in Tolkien scholarship, as I had said in my obituary to him that was put up on the OneRing.net Twitter feed. The man is gone. So, we lost the man who brought us the gateway, the doorway, into all the unpublished works of Professor Tolkien. This is why it was so important to us. Who we are as a community that understands the roots of Elvish language. We understand the roots of Tolkien's linguistic greatness. It's the Lord of the Rings and Silmarillion Hobbit fans who get to that level. You know, those of us who know, we know one another. We love and admire that aspect of one another, which is why our community is so interesting and broad over many, many generations. As I've examined, you know, in my continued 20 years of outreach to this community, there's such a strength of intellectual inquisitiveness that is the primary function of all Tolkien fans. This honest-to-goodness intellectual curiosity, which they shared with Christopher Tolkien. They were all like him. Because we were all just kids picking up that world in that paperback at that certain age and falling into it, completely falling into, past the frame of the looking glass, right into Middle-earth. And there we all were. And this is much the same thing that Christopher Tolkien experienced when he was a teenager there, side by side with his father, watching at his desk while his dad was writing The Lord of the Rings and sharing manuscripts with him, sharing ideas with his son. But we have to imagine it in those terms. I bring it up that way because our understanding of everything in this ancient world, the foundations of stone, it all comes from Christopher Tolkien having been there to keep those manuscripts above ground. After his father's death, the manuscripts were not buried somewhere in a box, lost in a library in Oxford. You know, his father was buried, but his father's creative mind was not. And because of Christopher Tolkien's dedication to this, to diving into that world that he had gotten a bird's eye view to see in great intimacy while his father was writing. And it was because of his father's actions, because of Christopher's attention to his father's work. We are the beneficiaries of all of that today. It is why the Silmarillion was ever created, because, as you know, it broke John Ronald's heart. It broke his heart thoroughly that the Silmarillion would not be considered for publication. And his publishers kept telling him, no, we don't want this. No, we're not going to be able to sell this book. And all of Tolkien's decades, a lifetime of effort that the publishers ignored, Christopher Tolkien would not. So, he took all those manuscripts. Famously, the story goes, or so I've heard, that on a beautiful, clear summer afternoon, Christopher Tolkien took boxes and boxes of those said manuscripts, of half-written drafts of the Silmarillion, half-written and abandoned stories of the first and second ages of Arda, way before the setting stage of the War of the Ring. And all those manuscripts detailed even the essential creation mythology behind Arda and its pantheon of gods and goddesses, as it were. The major linguistic mind of his time, the man who created The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, he left behind so much that his son, Christopher, attended to. Not John, not Priscilla, not the other kids. There were 4 children of Edith and John Ronald, 4. But it was Christopher who was closest to his father's mind and perhaps to his heart, in that sense that he knew there was more there, more that was there for the broad understanding of the public. It needed to be pieced together, stitched together from very thin, spidery thin written handwriting. You know, when Professor Tolkien was making a description of Frodo's handwriting late in The Return of the King, he was perhaps self-reflexive, and that was his own handwriting he was describing, and impossible for others to read, but Christopher knew how to read these things. And the maps that he had helped his father with in the stages of publishing The Return of the King. He knew the cartography of the land, the cosmology of the world. So Christopher Tolkien took that station wagon, stuffed it to the brim with manuscripts of his father's best, drove from their old home to what would be his new home in the south regions of France. Thank God there was no accident on the road, because all of Professor Tolkien's life work would have been gone. But he drove down, unpacked at his new home in France, and Christopher Tolkien set to work, giving us the gift that was published 4 years later after his father's death. In 1977, it was the Silmarillion, the story of the creation of that world, the tempestuous heart of Feanor, who captured the light of the 2 trees of Valinor. This amazing stuff. Christopher Tolkien is the only person who let us have access to all of that. All of that. We are the beneficiaries to have all of that world. The mere mind-blowing concept that the dwarves were first, perhaps accidentally or slash not meant to be, but they were first, but they were put back to sleep under the mountains at the order of Iluvatar. The Valar who created this pantheon of angelic beings who oversaw the world of Arda. All the stuff that we love so much, that we want to know if is going to be in the next adaptation of Tolkien. Is any of this stuff going to be mentioned? Even today, people are asking, is this going to be in the new series that Amazon is setting in the Second Age? I mean, if we're going to see something of the destruction of Numenor, then certainly the gods, the pantheon of the angelic powers, rather, the Valar, will they be depicted? Everyone's wondering, this stuff, none of it would have existed, except for mentions of it, historical and deeply embedded mentions of it in the narrative of the War of the Ring. We would have had those bits of glimpses of it. And what Professor Tolkien put in the appendix, all of his appendices, in the back of ROTK, that's the only understanding we would have ever had of what happened before. So, many years later, Christopher Tolkien would continue to edit the volumes that would become the History of Middle-earth series, Unfinished Tales, the best stuff that you love, the Book of the Lost Road, Morgoth's Ring, Sauron Defeated, The Peoples of Middle-earth. It's all this great stuff, many, many volumes. And then in the last couple of years, before he retired from his position, heading the Tolkien estate and providing such guardianship over his father's legacy, there was the tale of Beren and Luthien, and also a recounting of the tale, the children of Húrin, and the fall of Gondolin, all that stuff, all because of Christopher Tolkien. So today, as we think about the fact that we all exist to this degree as a community because Christopher Tolkien bothered to do so, to take the time and deep dive into his father's works and not let them be shuffled away and forgotten, we'll be talking about that. And it would be wonderful. You guys, I'm going to take a look now at the people who are joining us. And Justin, wherever you are, please feel welcome to come in. And any of our friends who are here live with us at the Cantina today. David Alvarado says, it was a great sacrifice of time out of his life so that we could enjoy tales from his father. Not everyone has the courage of doing it for the sake of humanity. He was the real MVP. Yes, indeed, he was. He was the real most valuable player, absolutely. Thank you guys for joining us here. Come and Skype with us at the One Ring Net. You'll appear right there on that screen. We'll have a picture-in-picture ability. You could come in and do it. We're doing it like a real show now. My gosh, it's like, and right now, before our very eyes, the room is being transformed. You can see furniture and heads and things moving past. It's not a Paul McCartney song with heads across the water. It's actually people just moving tables here. We're getting ready for Kevin Smith and Mark Bernardin. Their live show, Fat Man Beyond, will be broadcast right here live as well. Hi, Ellen. Ellen, welcome to the show as well. Christos is now asking, hello, do we know if someone in the family who is passionate enough to continue the legacy? Indeed, I wonder. From what I understand, it is Simon, the grandson of J.R.R. Tolkien, that being published author of legal thrillers, Simon Tolkien, is the one who I've heard is most connected to handling things with the family estate. You know, it's also the other grandchildren, Bailey, Adam, and Rachel. They're the ones who have been responding mostly to the press in response to their grandfather's death. And that would to their father's death, Christopher. Hi, Ellen. All right, so there's Nicholas in the YouTube chat. Hello, welcome to the show, everybody. HOME, yeah, when everybody is in a Tolkien conversation and you see someone put the acronym HOME, it's Histories of Middle-earth, we get to, I'm sorry, I'm just deciphering unknown acronyms for people. Everybody knows what an MVP is. I don't know why I bothered to even explain it. I'm sorry, guys. But here, let's see. I'm very excited to have you guys with us here on the live show. If you have a memory of how the Silmarillion affected you, come, join us. The hotline is there. I don't believe it is floating on the screen, but it's 530. What is it? Hey, what's our hotline again, Justin? That's right. It's 530-64-FRODO. The hotline is open. Our live chat is here. Come and join us and tell us what the Silmarillion means to you. It's that simple. To begin our quest of appreciating all the work that Christopher Tolkien did for all of us, I think that's where we should start. We are live, 530-64-FRODO. There's also Skype. And if you're looking up, Skype, the One Ring Net, you might actually look up the nickname Barliman. Are we still using the Barliman Butterbur Skype? Or did we get rid of that? Yes. Yes. We certainly, we're here not only to send our heartfelt condolences to the family, to the children and the grandchildren of Christopher Tolkien, but we're also here to start and share a remembrance. I'll tell you, for me, literally, the Silmarillion was an impenetrable difficulty to understand, and yet it was so worth it when I did. It was the kind of thing that I had to, yes, Hannah, absolutely. The answer is yes, always. Come and Skype in, anybody. We're on live. Skype is open at the One Ring Net. We'll be right here. Nicholas Hawley says it was quite the journey reading the Silmarillion, and like I said, it's my personal favorite. I still pull the book off my shelf to just read a chapter or two every now and then. Emiliano Martinez says, hello to our audio engineer. Would you mind turning up to send us at least 25 dB? Thanks. That's a message for you, Justin. Okay, thank you very much for that. Thank you on Facebook. So, personally, for me, the Silmarillion was so difficult to read, but even though I went back and reread 2 or 3 paragraphs over and over again to just see how could I, digest and understand, eventually I got through the historic density of it all, and I understood much clearer this kind of ancient voice of, foundations of stone. It was such a different quality to the Silmarillion. It felt like somewhat biblical. It felt also like a historical epic that was written in a style of ancient ideas, ancient voice. It felt old. It really did. And that antiquity and that otherworldliness about the Silmarillion has always stuck with me. Its sense of tremendous molecular density, really, there's no other way to describe it, and its sense of antiquated time. So, it's just so cool. It's so cool. None of us could even, where we're at today. We're sitting around without doing any scholarship. We're just watching YouTube videos, people explaining to us who the Valar are in this pantheon of angels and beings, and Melkor, who eventually became Morgoth, and his fortress in Thangorodrim in the far north. We get the stuff spoon-fed to us. You know what I mean? Christopher did all of the work. Hear that? There's a Skype call. Come on in. Let's answer that call on Skype. We'll bring that caller in. I think I know who it might be.
Hi there.
Hello. Hannah, nice to have you. Good to see you.
It's nice to see you as well and to be on here.
Welcome back. This is Hannah Greenwood, named after the great forest that became Mirkwood.
Intentionally.
Hannah, thank you. I was just saying to us, to our audience, a reminder that this stuff is handed to us today. It was Christopher who did all the hard work and actually put that stuff together for all of us. And that is the nature of true Tolkien scholarship. It all started with him. It all started with him. And perhaps maybe it didn't end with him. I think it will never end. The scholarship is now up to us to continue. But it all began with Christopher, don't you think?
Oh, no, for sure. I definitely agree. I also wanted to say what you were talking about with the Silmarillion and trying to get through it. Like, I agree with you in the sense of it feels more so like a historical or even like religious kind of document in a way, like what you were saying.
Yes.
Yeah, like for me, it feels like it is literature, but it's not presented in the basis of literature. It's like looking over something that actually happened. Kind of like, well, it's kind of presented the way that I see it. It's kind of presented in the way of like how Greek mythology or how like Norse or Japanese mythology, how we kind of view that
Mm-hmm.
rather than like fantasy literature. If that makes sense.
Yes, it felt like it was presented as a fireside conversation, like the oral histories and great poems that inspired Tolkien. It felt, his Silmarillion felt like a very, very long and dense Beowulf with
Oh,
someone around a Viking fire explaining to you the hard tragedies of ancient heroes.
oh, for sure.
Yeah, it did feel like a, a history lesson that was along that oral tradition of, back in the times when in the prehistory of human beings, these stories were all verbal. Even, even the greatest early religions are oral traditions.
Mm-hmm.
And so I find that quality of it, that fireside, you know, tale of an epic. Maybe it always feels poetic and historic like that at the same time. It's a fine
Right.
dance. It's a very fine dance between historic and feeling poetic.
Oh, definitely. It makes it like with how um, Christopher kind of brings it out. Cause with his father, his at least for me, I feel like there's a distinction between both of them. Like with Christopher, he made it feel more real and possible that these events and that these characters that that we've learned to love and care for actually existed at one point, or there's a possibility of it. But Tolkien, John just made the world in and of itself, and his son kind of came in and kind of gave it that push to make it feel more real.
Yes, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. It is. It is that. Well, I don't know. It's the thing that gives the world its own foundations. It gives it its own background and tapestry, so that every looking back reference that Aragorn is making when he's, you know, discussing Luthien to Nuviel with
Mm-hmm.
Frodo, and that stuff really is concretely there
Yeah.
because Christopher let us have it. So those backward glances that Elrond and Aragorn and other characters make during the dialogue they have in Lord of the Rings, it's just so much more real. It really backed everything up beautifully. Don't you think?
Oh no, I definitely agree.
Yes. Well, it is. Everybody in the live chat room is responding and saying, "Hello there, Hannah. It's nice to see you. It's very nice to see you." And we have a lot of really fine folks in the chat. There you are, Jen. It's nice to see you, Jen. People are here to also share their memories of Christopher Tolkien. Um, I'm sorry, what's that? Yes, well, Hannah, it is so lovely to have you here. We're going to
I
get
bid
back
you
to
a
the live chat.
farewell.
Yes, it's great to have you join us. Thanks. By the way, Hannah, it's a lot easier than driving, isn't it? Using Skype, it's so. They
Lucky for you and for me, I don't drive. I take the train.
There you go. Good. That's so good. That's so good. But it's nice to have you here. Thanks for joining us again, Hannah, our previous co-host and mischief maker on theonering.net. We'll be talking to you soon, Ms. Greenwood. Thank you for that call-in.
Thanks for having me. And
I was looking here at the folks in the online chat who said that. Oh, that's nice. Andrew says, Cliff and Hannah described the Silmarillion exactly how it seemed to me. Yeah, that is how it seems to a lot of us. I thank you for that solidarity. And Andrew mentions that Men of the West is a great YouTube site for those with an interest in Tolkien lore. And yes, they are. They're very good. I watch them often, quite often. Hello, Pete and Arnie. Yes. Arne is suggesting that the actor Joseph Morley might actually play Morgoth. If there's a Morgoth or a Melkor, that might be the Game of Thrones actor Joseph Morley. You know what? A lot of speculation. That could be him, the great baddie, the very, very baddest of all baddies. And after such a long time, welcome back to the chat, and welcome to the show, Jen and everyone. Hello, Princess Toy Nerd, and everybody, welcome. Gothmog, you have a first edition Silmarillion? You better hold on to that. People on eBay are going to be wanting those. Don't be surprised if the price of used copies of the Silmarillion and early editions doesn't change dramatically now that Christopher Tolkien is no longer with us. Andrew says, what seems especially interesting is how the Silmarillion is meant to be the elven mythology from the perspective of the Númenóreans. Ah, that's very intriguing. Very intriguing. From the perspective of the Númenóreans. Intriguing. I hadn't thought about that before. I wonder if I had always thought that a lot of it was from the perspective of the elves, but it's elven history from the perspective of the Númenóreans. That's very intriguing. That certainly gives me a new framework in which to appreciate the whole book, the Silmarillion, in a whole new way, which is itself a collection of different historical tracts and tales, different tales that are in different style, a little bit here and there. Sarah, you've got the first American edition of the Silmarillion. I have a first American edition. If anybody had their hands on a first British edition, that's probably worth its weight in gold. It might be. Yes, it might be. Hello there. Justin, you're going to come and join, sir. I'm looking off screen while he's making adjustments to the camera. I'm going to ask Justin, how much of the Silmarillion have you read, good sir? You've read the Silmarillion? Wow. Really? You've read the Lord of the Rings once, you've read the Silmarillion once, but you've never read The Hobbit. That's such a peculiar reading pattern. You know, I wanted to give you some credit for that, for reading the Silmarillion, because, you know, quite honestly, it's quite difficult. It's quite difficult. Well, if there's anybody else in the audience who wants to Skype in and come be part of the show, by all means, we are here. And thanks to Christopher Tolkien, says Jason Creed in the YouTube chat. Thanks to Christopher, The Lord of the Rings is one of the few books where we can find out how it was made, thanks to the great Tales of Middle-earth, yes, the History of Middle-earth book series, HOME, that's true. We even, before Christopher Lee died, we got the double whammy of Christopher Tolkien's edition of The Children of Húrin. And before both of them left, both Christopher Lee and Christopher Tolkien before they left this earth, I think that audiobook is one of the greatest gifts that we have as a fandom, is to have Christopher Lee doing a full, extraordinarily powerful reading of The Children of Húrin. That's, for me, everything. That's everything that a real deep Tolkien nerd like me really needs, is Christopher Tolkien leaving a legacy so that we can know his father and know the greater expanse of what he achieved as a linguist, as a father, all the stuff that he did. He started to write down these ideas for a Hobbit story just to amuse Priscilla and Christopher. And maybe John was a little bit too old at the time. Maybe not. Maybe John loved the stories. He was firstborn. He was eldest. But when Tolkien read these stories, Christopher Tolkien, his little mind was just like yours was when you first read The Hobbit, just like mine was upon first reading The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings quickly after. Your mind was just blown. You're there. And even better than that, like I said at the top of the show, we should rejoice in the fact that a young lad named Christopher Tolkien took such an intellectual curiosity and such an intellectual rigor to get involved and interested in his father's life work. Thank God for simple truths. Don't you think? Thank God for simple truths. So here we are. Nancy, hello Nancy, good to see you. She says, I used to debate Middle-earthy topics online, and the more I read the Silmarillion, the deeper the story got. It's an epic tragedy with larger-than-life heroes. Yes, indeed it is. Here we go. We're getting a live call. Hey, you're live on theonering.net Torn Tuesday. Where are you calling from?
Hey, Cliff, it's Brennan.
Hello, Brennan. How are you, mister?
Doing good.
Good. Tell us your impressions of the passing of Christopher.
It's very sad that he's gone. He had done such a lot to kind of share Tolkien with the new generation by publishing those unfinished books. And I don't think the Tolkien fandom would be the same without that.
Quite.
Yeah, I've read the Silmarillion. I've read The Children of Húrin, and I believe I've read The Fall of Gondolin. I have not read the book on the Beren and Luthien story, but I have read their story in the Silmarillion, of course.
Yes, indeed.
But it's really an important figure in understanding Tolkien's legendarium.
Indeed, that is the truth. So let me ask you quickly, what was your first impression when you first tried to read through the Silmarillion, and when you got done on the other side? What was your first impression when you got done with the other side of the Silmarillion?
It was it's almost a biblical work. It's kind of like the Middle-earth version of the Bible, in a way. And it really kind of put the story of Lord of the Rings into a little bit of a new perspective, that it's only one tiny piece of a larger puzzle, which is extraordinary to think about.
It is extraordinary, yes.
So, Christopher Tolkien meant a lot to me. and bringing his Father's works to my life in a big way.
Yes, indeed.
So, we missed indeed.
Yes, indeed.
So, yeah,
Well done, good sir. Thank you for calling, and thank you for sharing the sentiment. Thank you very much, good sir, and have a good night. How about that? Indeed, that's very good that people are able to just fully recognize that, the bedrock of the story was really the Silmarillion all along. And we didn't have access to it. Tolkien was smart enough while he was alive to say, my readership is going to benefit so much. And he went to Rainer Unwin at his publishing house, Allen and Unwin. And these were the people who had made so much money with the worldwide success of The Lord of the Rings, but they still would not. And if the Silmarillion was going to be presented to them, Professor Tolkien, as he worked through the last years of his life, he was not happy in the condition that the book was in. It was completely not finished. So, oh, I hear that. There's a Skype call coming through. We're going to have someone else call in on our Skype. Hold on just 1 second. We're going to answer that. So, call back, whoever you were. We didn't get to the control button, but do it one more time. And I want to say hello to Michigan. Hello, Michigan. It's good to have you here. Thanks for joining us on the show. Yeah, somebody mentioned, Andrew, the vampires and the werewolves, such strange things that Professor Tolkien mentions in the Silmarillion, and they're very different from our ideas of vampires and werewolves. You're on Skype here with the Torn Tuesday. Welcome to the show. How you doing? Let's see are you connecting? Hold on. We're connecting you, Skype caller. Okay, nope, they're not there. Okay.
Hold on.
Oh, there you are there. There is someone there. Hold on now.
Hello?
Hello, I hear you. How are you? Welcome to the show.
It's Arna.
Hey, how are you, Arna? What's up?
Not much. I can't see. I can't see you on camera. I can't.
I hear you fine, though. Your Skype call is coming in through as perhaps audio only, and that works just great. Tell us, where are you calling from?
Share to computer sound. How do I get myself on camera?
Maybe just press that camera button that's on your screen, and if that doesn't work,
Hold on.
if that doesn't work, then we'll just continue with.
Hold on. I see a camera button.
How about that? There you go.
I just
Hey, now I see you. How are you doing?
Good. Nice to see you.
Hey, it's very nice to see you today.
I just wanted to ask you a question. One is, who's going to be the next editor, the next heir to J.R.R. Tolkien to publish the more of his father's works now that Christopher Tolkien has died?
Yes, I saw that was in the chat room as well. Thank you for bringing that up. That question was something we were asking about way before Christopher Tolkien died, because at the point of his retirement, and that announcement was just about less than a year ago, I think, we all wondered at the time, and it has apparently only become clearer many months later that Simon Tolkien, who is himself a published author, has been at the backbone of most of the meetings, along with other grandkids. And also, I believe Priscilla, I don't know how much day-to-day involvement Priscilla has in these things, but she's still alive. But when Christopher Tolkien stepped down, we've had about a year of speculation wondering that very question. And I would venture to guess that most of those decisions are being shouldered by Simon and perhaps Bailey and Rachel, and it's just that kind of thing. But we'll see. We'll see. Is there a formal announcement yet? Not yet. Not yet. Adam, and also Adam and Rachel. So, and those. Hold on. What was that, Justin? My friend, you're still here on the line with us. What was your other question?
Did you say? Hold on. Did you just say Rachel and Adam?
Those are. There are Bailey, Simon, Adam, and Rachel are the other children, grandchildren of J.R.R. Tolkien, who are the ones.
Funny. That's funny because my sister's name is Rachel, and my brother-in-law, who she's married to's name is Adam. So.
Oh, how funny! How funny! Yeah. Common names, unexpectedly good, solid names that people share. Yeah, but
Rachel Nishnikov, Adam.
Yes. If we're assuming that Priscilla, who is one of the surviving 4 children of J.R.R. Tolkien, if we assume that she's not involved, then it's those 4 grandchildren who are involved. And, as a family, we might even assume that they get together with their business advisors and they make decisions together as a group, about what's going to happen with. But the deal that they have now with Amazon Studios was created because Christopher Tolkien stepped back from making those decisions.
I see.
Yes.
So, last question. Do you have hope that someday the Silmarillion will be made into a movie, or maybe the Adventures of Tom Bombadil book will be made into a film?
I have an eternal hope. I'm the last thing left at the bottom of Pandora's box. I'm that tiny little ray of light that gleams through the forest of Ithilien and sparkles sunshine onto the flowers that crown the head of that king's statue. I have only that, my brother, my hope. It was always just a fool's hope. But yes, I do have that. And I share that very strongly, that the Silmarillion belongs in a larger scale series. And because the Silmarillion is an anthology itself, I think an anthology series that blocks by large major chunks of story, blocks out and executes the tapestries in the same way that Christopher Tolkien had to piece things out. I would love that from your lips to God's ears, or to Iluvatar's ears in this case.
Well, can I share one thought?
Please, yes.
We're fan location scouting, right? And I just messaged you on Skype the image of Milford Sound and Numenor together.
Oh, Justin, do you have that image? We'll see if Justin can pull that up over there in the control room. Really? Milford Sound? Oh, I've been there once, my friend. It's amazing.
Yeah, I've been to New Zealand. I did a Kiwi funky chicken tour there, and they had me perform Gollum at the nose of the bus just after we reboarded the bus for the movie ticket, the Hobbiton movie set tickets. So.
That's fantastic! I love that. That's great.
And I also went to a Maori show. I was chief of Maori people. So, and I also did Milford Sound. So, there too. But it was a foggy, rainy day in Milford Sound the day I went. So.
Yes.
So. But the cool thing about going to New Zealand is that I got to visit the movie set of Hobbiton twice and the Glowworm Caves. So.
Beautiful. Oh, that's a life-changing experience for that.
Wasn't it?
Yes. I love it.
The frustration about going on long trips like that is that I lose cameras. So, to make videos of myself visiting New Zealand and things.
That's worth the risk, though. I gotta say, this picture of Milford Sound, it's extraordinary. I don't know if the audience can see it, but there's something so Numenorian and ancient about the way the light comes through the clouds, or maybe sometimes the way the light is obscured by the fog, the clouds, the sudden change in temperatures, and the disturbances of the ocean currents as you near the edge, the outer perimeters of the fjord. the Fjordland. It's amazing stuff. There you
But
go.
did
There,
you
that,
see it?
there it is.
But
The audience can see it now. Look at that. Look at that.
the similarities between Milford Sound and the Ted Naismith illustration?
Yes, the Ted Naismith illustration. Is that Meneltarma?
Meneltarma illustration?
That Meneltarma, the mountain at the top, at the very center of Numenor.
Hold on. Is that not? Oh, that's still Numenor illustration, right?
Yeah, I'm not. That Ted Naismith. I'm not sure if I'm looking at Gondolin or if I was looking at the Meneltarma, but that is beautiful. Look at it side by side to the actual photograph of Milford Sound in the South Island of New Zealand. Thank you for sending that to us. That's yes. The people.
Also, the city of Gondolin location. Remember, I mentioned that.
Yes, I do remember that. Yes.
Do you want me to send that one to you too?
Sure. Yes, please. Go right ahead.
I just opened up a new Microsoft. Hang on.
Yes. I'd like to keep you on the line, but also go now to Jason Creed, who's there with us in the live YouTube chat. And he says that in reading the letters of J.R.R. Tolkien, it is very clear how close father and son were. Quote, "My dearest Christopher," which would be his usual openings for his son. And I read eagerly all the details of your life and the things you see and do. It's true, Jason. That's very cool that you mentioned that. There is a very abiding, strong, abiding love between Christopher and John Ronald. And he was the man, while he was alive, who was the direct link to everything in his father's mind. And now that we've lost him, it's just devastating. It's just devastating.
Well, here are two more images I just sent.
Ah, here you go. All right, let's see. There you go. Now we can see it. Now, is that a photograph also of Milford Sound? Oh, that's the painting of Gondolin. That is a close-up detail of Ted Naismith's famous illustrated edition of the Silmarillion.
Do you see Mount Cook in the background in that painting?
Yes, I do. Now we've switched to, look at that. Definitely Mount Cook. That is fantastic. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. That is it. Nowhere but New Zealand could you have the Silmarillion be filmed. And as you suggested, could it be a movie? No, I don't think. The platform for the Silmarillion would be a lengthy and detailed anthology series. I love this.
I hate to be in your face, but it's not just New Zealand. I also found Black Sand Beach to be the locations in Iceland as the perfect location for Ulmo, the Lord of Waters, and the Silmarillion.
Oh, cool. Ulmo. There is a black sand beach on the North Island of New Zealand, but they're much bigger and more striking ones there in Iceland. You're right.
Don't worry, I love New Zealand, and I'm glad I got something for New Zealand than nothing for New Zealand at all, but it occurred. I saw a 5-episode Amazon John Howe show. And it involves his illustration and the similarities it shares with Black Sand Beach in Iceland. And I thought Black Sand Beach looks like definitely the location to be Ulmo.
Oh God, yes.
The Lord of Waters. Hopefully that doesn't bother you, me saying that, but
no, I think it's fantastic. Why not? Why not diversify? Some of the most amazing locations for Prometheus and for Game of Thrones and lots of others were shot in Iceland. And the fact that you mention it is totally legit. I love it. I love the place. It's fantastic. And because I'm such a big fan of Bjork, and everybody remember, because Bjork was going into labor, the only reason why she did not record Gollum's song for the soundtrack of The Two Towers. It was supposed to be Bjork. One of these days, you and me, my friend, let's go to Iceland and let's go have a cup of coffee and a Danish with Bjork. Shall we do that, brother? Let's do it.
Yeah, you want me to stay in touch with you?
Hey, you know what? Through the show, you are. You're part of our family now. You're part of our
Thanks.
family now. Skype in and join us very soon, my friend. We're gonna go to Iceland. You know what? It would be great if we actually got some footage
Is it
from
all right if
news.
I make a video of myself going on a trip? I'm a YouTuber now.
Yeah, hey, send us your link into the live chat so that the other people we have can share it together. Okay,
Not
brother?
all of it's on Lord of the Rings. It's general daily life. I'm like a YouTuber like Casey Neistat now, so.
Nice. Hey, that's fair enough. That's totally fair enough. We cover all these things. But yeah, drop in your link into our YouTube chat so people can share. And thanks for the call tonight. Thank you. Good night.
Good
Hey,
night.
good night, good sir. I want to go to Iceland. I want to go to Numenor, and you know, the only way I'm going to be able to do that is to go to the fjord land of the South Island of New Zealand, or to, hey guys, how are you doing? If I want to go to Numenor, the only way I will get to Numenor is if I go to either Iceland or to the coast of the South Island of New Zealand, because that's where they're going to be filming everything down there, guys. But further to the conversation of how much Numenor we're going to get, hi everybody, welcome. We don't know how much of the Silmarillion will now be available for further licensing to anybody. The death of Christopher Tolkien is one tremendous blow to all of us. But that decision about the rights of the Silmarillion was up in the air a year ago when Christopher Tolkien was still very much alive, but he had stepped back from his responsibilities and his decision-making for how to handle the Tolkien estate. And in that length of time, after his retirement, all the other things put into motion to bring us to where we are now, with Amazon Studios spending $1 billion on a Middle-earth, series that we know very little about, except they're only going to do a couple of episodes in the North Island, and they're going to take a break. But what is the future of Tolkien scholarship is a different question that I'm going to get into. But the future of the Silmarillion and whether the rights to that book might someday be more likely to be, wheeling and dealing with somebody in a room saying, let me license that from you. And the grandkids of J.R.R. Tolkien, now that Christopher is entirely out of the human picture, tragically, but if the grandkids of Tolkien say, yes, sure, we'll do a little wheeling and dealing, as long as you don't mess it up, we still have veto power. We still have a power of script approval to say yes or no. That existing deal is what we understand, do we not? Amazon Studios and Jeff Bezos and all of his money backing him up, that is the current deal. The Tolkien estate can say no to whatever Amazon is producing. So in the future, they're only, this is just second age material that their show is allegedly going to, broach. But the Silmarillion may indeed, pending the success of this, it might be in the mix in a very real way. The Silmarillion might be manifest on a screen sometimes, while we're still alive in this generation. It might happen. Christopher's widow, his wife, who survived him? No. As I've explained, it is Tolkien's grandkids, and I've identified them all. It's his grandkids, usually led by Simon Tolkien, who's in charge of the Tolkien estate. They're in their 40s or 50s. These are people who are in their late 40s, early 50s. Then maybe Simon Tolkien is older. You know what, Wikipedia. I honestly don't know how old Simon Tolkien is. I don't know. I don't know. Oh, wait. His great-grandson, Royd Tolkien, he's closer to my age. I think he's in his late 40s. Oh, so then maybe Simon is in his early 60s, but he still looks like he's 50 to me. I don't know. Maybe that's just his publicist to try to get a good photo of Simon Tolkien out in front of me. But all the pictures I've seen of him lately looks like he's not like a day past 55. But the question of who's in charge of the Tolkien estate is his grandkids. And I've also ventured to speculate that they have business managers and accountants and lawyers who go into these meetings with them and make decisions about the Tolkien estate and what to do with the legacy and what to do with his scholarly works. But all of this is complete speculation. Don't take this little person's word for it. There won't. The line of kings is broken. There's no more. There will be no more books. There will be no more. Unfortunately, this is the shadow that now casts its long reach across the beautiful white halls of the men of the West. Because Christopher Tolkien is gone, I do not see anybody else on the horizon, and certainly not within the lineage of the family, who would have that closeness to the material, would have the wisdom or the wherewithal to go in and keep digging through old manuscripts to find other material that has yet to see the light of day. I mean, Christopher did that through decades of his life, man. He did it for so many decades of his life. And like I said in my obituary for him, we are the beneficiaries of a life well spent on that kind of Tolkien scholarship. We are. So, you know, I wouldn't say that I don't want any more missing things to be brought to light, but I don't see, you'd probably have to go outside the family and go to the Tolkien Society themselves to find people like Tom Shippey, published Tolkien scholars who have the brain power and the knowledge to be able to decipher Tolkien's old material and handwritten notes and things like that. And because they've done so much of the work already, you'd have to find those people, and I would go directly to the brain trust of the Tolkien Society in England and ask them the question, do you want to see more posthumously published works by J.R.R. Tolkien? Yes, but not if it's done in any sloppy way or some careless way. But who could ever come near the amount of care and attention? I mean, who had the cojones to do that? It was only Christopher. And because he's gone, we do have already, luckily, within reach on the library shelf, we do have a vast wealth of insights into the creative mind and the process of what made Tolkien who he was. Professor Tolkien will be with us forever, and more than any other author ever, and you can mark this as an actual historical period statement. It's not aggrandizing, it's not hyperbole when I say that there's probably no other level of research that's ever been done into a living a living author's work. I should say a past author's work. No, not the way that Christopher Tolkien has done it. No one's ever come close to what Christopher Tolkien did. There's so much we would have never ever understood about the linguistic background, the structures of the Tengwar, the lettering of the alphabets that were the fire of Tolkien's mind, and how all those languages were brought to life as his main passion, and the narratives draped across those languages like fabric being hung over a clothesline. But the clothesline was the languages first. They were there first. The stories came later on. And it was because of Christopher Tolkien having the willingness to do this and to comb through endless, confusing, unfinished bits of paper that his father left behind. Because Christopher did that, we are who we are today as a community of Tolkien fans. And I don't think we should ever, ever forget it. Why did he end with the fall of Gondolin? I don't know. I don't know, but maybe it was thematic, because the fall of Gondolin for me is like really one of the hard-hitting pieces of the Sill. It's where all the people with the best intentions get really screwed over. It's really hard stuff. So, but I wouldn't want to speculate, but I will speculate that as we get to the end of the show, and we're going to close the show now, And thank you for being with us on this past hour, remembering. This is a time of remembrance for Christopher Tolkien and how much, we owe to him, how indebted we are to him. And so, before we get to the end, I would venture that the scope of future scholarship is in our hands, in our very, very capable hands. The people at the Tolkien Society in England run a tight ship, and the publications, the fact that Tolkien now appears in many universities, syllabi? Oh, don't get me with the plural of syllabus. But yes, many colleges now offer Tolkien studies as an accepted, legitimized branch of literary study that you can get your life's work. Even our friend Mr. Shelton just got, his degree in Tolkien studies. Down at Rice University in Texas, Jane Chance, a wonderful professor, a friend of our community, somebody that I interviewed in my documentary. All these people, Tom Shippey, mark my words. There's much, much more coming from the world of Tolkien scholarship. We are those bright minds, and it's so good to say that we are among the family of those bright individuals who keep the torch going. So, and to you, Christopher Tolkien, farewell, good sir. Good night, sweet prince. So, we end thewonering.net. We end the end of our show. This is Torn Tuesday, and I am, again, your amiable host, Clifford Broadway, contributor and writer for thewonering.net. Thank you for being with us on Torn Tuesday. Until next week, we will be, again, live here from Scum and Villainy Cantina at 5 p.m. You can follow us on all social media platforms, The One Ring Net. Myself, I am QuickBeam2000 on Twitter and Instagram. Mischief to be had, more stories and more news and more insights for the world of Tolkien fans yet to come. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Buenas noches y buena suerte.